You know what's funny? We spend so much time with our families, right? Like, these are the people we see at holidays, the ones who drive us crazy, the ones we love, the ones we complain about. But when it comes to actually talking about them in English, a lot of people freeze up. They're like, wait, how do I explain that my cousin is super close to me but we're not siblings? Or how do I describe that aunt who's always getting into everyone's business? So today, I'm going to walk you through 30 phrases that'll help you talk about your family like a native speaker. And I'm not just giving you boring definitions. We're going to talk about how real people actually use these phrases, when you'd say them, and what they really mean in everyday conversation. Okay, so let's start with the basics. And I know you probably already know words like mother, father, sister, brother. But here's the thing. In casual conversation, we almost never use those formal words. We say mom and dad, we say sis or bro, or we just use their names. So the first phrase I want to talk about is immediate family. This is super useful because it's a quick way to talk about the people you're closest to. Your immediate family is basically your parents, your siblings, and if you're married or have kids, your spouse and children. That's it. It's the core group. So if someone asks you, hey, are you bringing anyone to the wedding, you might say, yeah, just my immediate family. It's coming like my mom, my dad, and my sister. Simple, right? Now, the opposite of immediate family is extended family. This is everyone else. Your aunts, your uncles, your cousins, your grandparents, maybe even your second cousins or your great aunts. Basically, if they're related to you but they're not in that core immediate family group, they're extended family. And we use this phrase a lot when we're talking about big family gatherings. Like, Thanksgiving at my house is chaos because my whole extended family comes over. That means it's not just mom, dad, and siblings. It's like 30 people crammed into one house, everyone talking over each other, kids running around. You know how it is. All right, let's talk about nuclear family for a second because this one comes up sometimes, especially in more formal contexts. A nuclear family is basically the same as immediate family, but it's even more specific. It usually means just parents and their children, living together in one household. So if you're filling out a form or if you're in a sociology class or something, you might see this term. But in everyday conversation, we don't really use it that much. We just say my family or my immediate family. Now, here's a phrase that I love because it's so specific and so useful. We're a close-knit family. This means your family is really tight. You spend a lot of time together, you support each other, you actually enjoy being around each other. It's not just that you're related, it's that you genuinely have strong bonds. So you might say, yeah, we're a close-knit family. We have dinner together every Sunday, or we're really close-knit, so when someone's going through a hard time, we all rally around them. It's a warm phrase. It has this cozy feeling to it. On the flip side, some families aren't that close, and that's okay too. We might say we're not that close, or we're kind of distant. This doesn't mean you hate each other or anything dramatic like that. It just means you don't talk that often, you don't see each other much, maybe you live far apart, or you just don't have that much in common. So you might explain, yeah, I have a brother, but we're not that close. We talk maybe once or twice a year. It's just a neutral way to describe the relationship without getting into all the messy details. Let me tell you about a phrase that's really common and kind of interesting. We get along. This is how we describe having a good relationship with someone. If you get along with your sister, it means you don't fight, you enjoy each other's company, things are smooth between you two. You might say, yeah, my sister and I really get along. We talk on the phone like 3 times a week. Or you could say, I get along with most of my cousins, but there's this one guy who's just really annoying. So it's about compatibility, whether you click with someone. And then there's the opposite. We don't get along or we clash. If you clash with someone, it means you argue a lot, you have different personalities that just don't mesh well, you rub each other the wrong way. Like my brother and I clash all the time. He's super loud and I need quiet, so whenever we're together for more than 2 days, we start getting on each other's nerves. It happens. Families are complicated. Here's a phrase you'll hear all the time, especially when people are talking about siblings. We fight like cats and dogs. This is an idiom, and it's kind of funny because it paints this picture of constant bickering and arguing. But here's the thing, when people say this, they're usually being a little bit playful about it. It doesn't necessarily mean there's real animosity. It's more like, yeah, we argue about everything, but we still love each other. So you might say, my sister and I fight like cats and dogs, but at the end of the day, she's my best friend. It's got this affectionate quality to it, even though it sounds negative at first. Now let's talk about age order, because there are specific phrases for this in English. If you're talking about your siblings, you might say my older brother or my younger sister. But we also have these cool terms, my big brother or my big sister, and my little brother or my little sister. And here's something interesting. Even when your little brother is like 40 years old and 6 feet tall, you might still call him your little brother because he's younger than you. It's just a way of indicating birth order. It's kind of sweet, actually. There's also this phrase, the baby of the family. This is the youngest child, and there's often this idea that the baby of the family gets spoiled or gets away with more stuff because they're the youngest. People might say it jokingly, like, oh, of course she got a new car, she's the baby of the family. Or someone might own it and say, yeah, I'm the baby, and my parents definitely went easier on me than they did on my older siblings. And if you're the oldest, you might be called the oldest or the firstborn. There's this whole idea that the oldest child is more responsible, more serious, because they had to set an example for the younger kids. Whether that's true or not, I don't know, but people talk about it all the time. Like, I'm the oldest, so I was always the one who had to watch my siblings when my parents went out. Let's talk about a really specific phrase now. An only child. This means you have no siblings. You're the only kid in the family. And there are actually a lot of stereotypes about only children. People sometimes assume they're spoiled or they don't know how to share because they never had to compete with brothers and sisters for attention. But obviously that's not always true. If you're an only child, you might say, I'm an only child, so I never had to deal with sibling rivalry, or I'm an only child, and honestly, I think I would have loved having a brother or sister. Okay, here's a phrase that's really useful when you're talking about relationships. We're really close. This is similar to saying you get along, but it goes deeper. It means you have a strong emotional bond, you confide in each other, you're there for each other. You might say, my mom and I are really close. I tell her everything. Or I'm really close with my grandmother. We talk on the phone every single day. It's about intimacy and trust, not just compatibility. Now, some people have a different relationship with their families. They might say we're estranged or we don't talk anymore. Estranged is a more formal word, but it means you're not in contact with that family member. Maybe there was a falling out, maybe there was a big argument, maybe you just drifted apart. It's a delicate topic, so people don't always go into detail. They might just say, yeah, I have a father, but we're estranged, and leave it at that. And that's totally okay. Not every family story has a happy ending, and that's real life. Here's one that's really common. Family drama. Oh man, every family has drama, right? This is when there's conflict, gossip, tension, arguments, secrets. All that messy stuff that happens when you put a bunch of people together who have history with each other. You might say, I'm not going to my uncle's birthday party because I don't want to deal with the family drama. Or, there's always so much family drama at the holidays. It's exhausting. It's a casual way to acknowledge that families can be complicated without getting into all the specifics. Let's talk about in-laws for a minute because there are specific phrases for this. Your in-laws are your spouse's family. So if you're married, your husband's parents are your in-laws. Your wife's siblings are your in-laws. We usually specify, though. We say my mother-in-law or my father-in-law or my sister-in-law or my brother-in-law. And there are a million jokes about in-laws, especially mothers-in-law, right? But in reality, some people have amazing relationships with their in-laws. You might say, I actually really love my mother-in-law. She's been so welcoming. Or you might say, my in-laws drive me crazy, but I deal with it for my husband's sake. Here's a phrase that's kind of sweet. Like family, this is when someone isn't technically related to you, but they feel like family. Maybe it's your best friend who's been in your life since kindergarten, or your neighbor who watched you grow up, or your mom's best friend who you've always called aunt even though she's not your real aunt. You might say, Sarah's not my cousin, but she's like family to me. We grew up together. It's a way of acknowledging that family isn't always about blood. It's about connection. Speaking of which, there's this phrase, blood is thicker than water. You've probably heard this one. It means family comes first. Family bonds are stronger than other relationships. People say it when they're trying to make the point that you should prioritize your family or forgive family members because they're family. Like, I know your brother messed up, but blood is thicker than water. You've got to work it out. But honestly, not everyone agrees with this sentiment. Some people think family has to earn your loyalty just like anyone else. It's a whole debate. Let me tell you about a phrase that's really specific to parents. A helicopter parent. This is a parent who's super involved in their kid's life, maybe too involved. They're always hovering, watching, controlling, making sure everything is perfect. They might do their kids' homework, fight their battles for them, call their college professors to complain about grades. It's called helicopter parenting because they're always circling overhead like a helicopter. And it's usually said with a bit of judgment. Like his mom is such a helicopter parent. He's 25 and she still does his laundry. On the other hand, you might hear about free-range parenting. This is the opposite. It's when parents let their kids have a lot of independence and freedom. They might let their kids walk to school alone, play outside without supervision, make their own decisions. Some people think it's great because kids learn responsibility. Other people think it's neglectful. It's another one of those controversial parenting styles that people have strong opinions about. Here's a phrase you might use when you're talking about how you were raised. I come from a big family, or I come from a small family. This is just describing the size of your family. A big family usually means you have a lot of siblings, maybe 3 or more. A small family might mean you're an only child or you have just one sibling. You might say, I come from a big family. I have 4 brothers and 2 sisters. It was crazy growing up. Or, I come from a small family, just me and my mom. Now there's this phrase, a blended family. This is when 2 families combine, usually because of divorce and remarriage. So maybe your mom remarries a guy who has kids from his previous marriage. Now you have stepbrothers or stepsisters. That's a blended family. It's super common these days. You might say, we're a blended family. My dad remarried when I was 10, so now I have 2 stepsisters. And navigating blended families can be tricky because you're trying to merge 2 different family cultures, 2 different sets of rules, 2 different ways of doing things. Let's talk about the black sheep of the family. This is such a vivid phrase. The black sheep is the person in the family who's different from everyone else, who doesn't fit in, who maybe makes choices that the rest of the family doesn't approve of. It could be the person who dropped out of college when everyone else has advanced degrees, or the person who's covered in tattoos when everyone else is super conservative, or the person who's always getting into trouble. Sometimes people own this label proudly. They're like, yeah, I'm the black sheep, and I don't care. Other times it's painful because they feel rejected by their family. Here's one that's kind of funny. The favorite child. In some families, it's obvious that the parents have a favorite kid. Maybe they give that child more attention, more praise, more leniency, and the other siblings definitely notice. You might hear someone say, my brother is so clearly the favorite child. My parents brag about him constantly. Or someone might jokingly say, I'm definitely the favorite, which is funny because usually the favorite doesn't actually say that. It's the other siblings who point it out. Now let's talk about family traditions. This phrase comes up a lot. It's a family tradition. This is something your family does regularly, usually something that's been passed down through generations. It could be a special meal you have every holiday, or a game you play every New Year's Eve, or a place you visit every summer. Family traditions are those rituals that make your family unique. You might say, we always have pancakes on Sunday mornings. It's a family tradition. Or every Christmas Eve, we drive around looking at lights. It's been a family tradition for like 30 years. Here's a phrase that's really important: taking after someone. This means you're similar to someone in your family, usually in terms of personality or looks or talents. You might say, I take after my dad. We both love reading and we're both really introverted. Or someone might tell you, you look just like your mom, you definitely take after her. It's a way of acknowledging those family resemblances and inherited traits. There's also, the apple doesn't fall far from the tree. This is a saying that means you're similar to your parents, especially in ways you might not even realize. Like, if your dad is stubborn and you're stubborn, someone might say, well, the apple doesn't fall far from the tree. It can be said affectionately, or it can be a little bit critical, depending on the context. If the trait is good, it's a compliment. If the trait is negative, it's more like, yeah, you're just like your father, and that's not necessarily a good thing. Let me tell you about family ties. This phrase just means the bonds and connections between family members. Strong family ties means you're close and connected. Weak family ties means you're not as connected. You might say, we have really strong family ties. Even though we're spread out across the country, we make sure to stay in touch. It's a nice way of talking about the strength of your family relationships. Here's one you'll hear a lot: growing up. This phrase is how we introduce stories about our childhood and our family experiences. Like growing up, we didn't have a lot of money, but my parents made sure we always had what we needed. Or, growing up, my house was always full of people. My parents loved to entertain. It's such a natural way to start talking about your past and your family background. There's this phrase, a family reunion. This is when extended family gets together, usually for a big event. It might be annual, it might be every few years, but the point is that relatives who don't see each other often all come together. You might say, we're having a family reunion this summer. Like 50 people are coming. Cousins I haven't seen in 10 years are going to be there. Family reunions can be really fun or really awkward, depending on your family dynamics. Now here's something specific about how we talk about relationships between family members. Getting on someone's nerves. This means annoying someone, irritating them. You might say, my little brother really gets on my nerves sometimes. He's always borrowing my stuff without asking. Or, I love my aunt, but she gets on my nerves when she starts asking about my love life. It's a pretty mild way of saying someone's bothering you. It's not saying you hate them. It's just saying they're annoying in that moment. Let's talk about playing favorites. This is when a parent treats one child better than the others, gives them more attention or advantages. It's usually seen as unfair and hurtful to the other kids. You might say, my mom totally plays favorites. My sister can do no wrong, but I get criticized for everything. Or, my parents swear they don't play favorites, but it's pretty obvious they're prouder of my brother than they are of me. It's one of those family dynamics that can cause a lot of resentment. Here's a really common one: keeping in touch. This is about maintaining contact with family members, especially ones who live far away or who you don't see regularly. You might say, I try to keep in touch with my cousins, but it's hard because we're all so busy. Or, my grandmother's really good about keeping in touch. She calls me every week. It's about making the effort to stay connected even when life gets in the way. All right, we're getting near the end here, so let me give you a few more good ones. A family gathering. This is any time your family gets together. It could be a birthday party, a holiday meal, a barbecue, whatever. It's just a casual phrase for when the family comes together. Like, we're having a family gathering this weekend for my dad's birthday. Nothing fancy, just family. There's also family values. This is a phrase you'll hear a lot, especially in certain contexts. Family values are the beliefs and principles that a family considers important. It might be things like honesty, hard work, respect for elders, religious faith, whatever your family prioritizes. You might say, I was raised with strong family values. My parents taught us to always tell the truth and treat people with kindness. It's a way of talking about the moral foundation your family gave you. Now, here's one that's a bit more serious. A dysfunctional family. This means a family that doesn't work well, where there are serious problems like abuse, addiction, constant conflict, neglect. It's not a light term. It's acknowledging that the family has real issues that affect everyone in it. Someone might say, I come from a pretty dysfunctional family. There was a lot of yelling and chaos growing up. It's a way of being honest about a difficult upbringing without going into all the painful details. And finally, let me give you one more. Found family. This is a relatively newer phrase, but it's beautiful. Found family is the family you choose. It's your close friends who you consider family, the people who aren't related to you by blood, but who you love and who love you and who show up for you just like family would. You might say, my found family got me through some really tough times when my biological family wasn't there for me. It's recognizing that family can be about love and loyalty and choice, not just about genetics. So there you go, 30 phrases to talk about your family. And the thing is, these phrases aren't just vocabulary words to memorize. They're windows into how English speakers think about family, how we categorize relationships, how we describe the complicated, messy, beautiful dynamics that come with being part of a family. Because no matter where you're from, no matter what language you speak, family is universal. We all have families in some form. We all have those relationships that shaped us, that frustrate us, that comfort us, that challenge us. And when you're learning English, being able to talk about your family in a natural, authentic way is so important, because people ask about family all the time. It's one of those topics that comes up constantly in conversation. Someone meets you and within 5 minutes they're asking, so do you have any siblings? Are your parents still together? Are you close with your family? And if you only know the basic vocabulary, you might be able to answer, but you can't really paint a picture. You can't share the nuances and the texture of your actual family experience. But now, with these phrases, you can. You can explain that you come from a close-knit family, but you're the black sheep. You can talk about how you and your sister fight like cats and dogs, but you're still best friends. You can describe the family drama that always erupts at holidays, or the family traditions that you cherish, or the fact that you're not that close with your extended family, but your found family means everything to you. You can be specific. You can be real. You can sound like a native speaker, having an actual conversation about the people who matter most to them. And here's the thing. When you're talking about family, you're not just practicing English. You're sharing yourself. You're letting people into your world. You're building connections. Because when you tell someone about your family, you're telling them your story. You're explaining where you came from, what shaped you, who matters to you, what your life is really like. And that's powerful. That's what language is really for. Not just to communicate facts, but to connect with other human beings. So I want you to practice using these phrases. Not just by memorizing them, but by actually thinking about your own family and how you describe them using these expressions. Which phrases fit your situation? Which ones resonate with you? Maybe you're the baby of the family. Maybe you have strong family ties with your cousins. Maybe your parents played favorites and you're still dealing with that. Maybe you found a beautiful found family that's given you what your biological family couldn't. Whatever your story is, there are phrases here that can help you tell it. And don't worry if your family situation is complicated. Most families are complicated. That's normal. You don't have to pretend everything is perfect. In fact, native English speakers are often pretty open about family dysfunction, family drama, family weirdness. We joke about it. We vent about it. We're honest about it. So you can be honest too. You can say, yeah, my family is a mess, or we don't really get along, or it's complicated. That's real. That's authentic. And people will respect that. The other thing I want you to remember is that these phrases are flexible. You can mix and match them. You can use them in different combinations depending on what you want to express. Like, I come from a big family and we're pretty close-knit, but there's always some family drama at the holidays. Or, I'm an only child, so I never experience sibling rivalry, but I have a really tight group of friends who are like family to me. Or, my extended family is huge, but I'm only really close with my immediate family. See how you can weave these phrases together to create a complete picture. And pay attention to how native speakers use these phrases. Listen to podcasts, watch TV shows, notice when people are talking about their families in casual conversation. You'll start to hear these expressions all the time once you know what to listen for. And you'll pick up on the tone, the context, the little nuances that make the language feel natural. Because that's really what this is all about. It's not about memorizing a list. It's about absorbing the language, letting it become part of how you express yourself, letting it give you the tools to share your truth. And family is such a huge part of who we are. Whether we love our families or we're estranged from them, whether we're close or distant, whether our families are functional or dysfunctional, whether we come from big families or small families, blended families or traditional families, it all matters. It all shapes us. And being able to talk about it in English, really talk about it, not just give basic answers but have real conversations, that's a huge step forward in your language journey. So go ahead, practice these phrases. Use them when you're chatting with English-speaking friends, use them when you're writing in your journal, use them when you're describing your family to someone new. And notice how much richer and more natural your English becomes. Notice how people respond differently when you can express yourself with precision and authenticity. Notice how it feels to finally have the language to match the complexity of your actual lived experience. Because at the end of the day, that's what we're all trying to do, right? We're trying to be understood. We're trying to connect. We're trying to share our lives with each other in a way that feels real and true. And language is how we do that. These 30 phrases, they're not just words on a page. They're bridges. They're doorways. They're invitations into deeper, more meaningful conversations about the people who made us who we are. So use them well, use them often, and watch how your English comes alive.